I feel like I see who this person is that I'm married to.
Mm.
This is like a happy version of my spouse,
Mm.
that I didn't really I hope that existed, but I hadn't really seen before.
Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. We get curious about all things gender, sex, and sexuality, as well as relationships, feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. If you like what we do and want to make a contribution, you can become a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender or buy us a coffee. Links are on the website. Now, join us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance, and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I am a cis queer woman, and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I have a conversation with Paige Lewin. Paige is married to a transgender woman, Esther, or Elle, who came out to her in October 2020. They've been married for 16 years and have 2 children. Find out more about Paige's experience in this episode. We also talk about being married to a troubled person, becoming more bold and growing into your skin, learning to communicate our needs, the freedom in speaking your truth, going through your own journeys together, that it's okay not to put a label on yourself, and how we may find ourselves in one closet or another. Please be aware that there is brief mention of suicide in this episode. It was recorded on the 25th of January 2022. Now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome. What's your name?
My name is Paige Lowen.
Hello, Paige.
Hello.
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 Thank you for chatting with me. So this is an episode again that's slightly different from the usual. And the reason we're having our conversation today is that you are
Yeah.
married to a trans woman.
Uh-huh.
And she has actually been a guest on the podcast a few episodes ago, Esther. And I wanted to talk to you about your experience in the journey with Esther. So Esther came out, it wasn't very long ago even, wasn't it? So
It was
to,
a year ago,
yeah.
October, she came out to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was that? I mean, first of all, I guess I'll ask you, what was it like when she had that conversation with you? How did you experience it and how did you feel?
Yeah. So Esther and I have been married for 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been in school together since first grade.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been friends all that time. And we did not start dating until I was, you know, after high school. I came back after college and I had to kind of convince Esther to date me. And it was Chris then,
Yeah.
because she actually liked me when we were seniors in high school, or kind of all throughout high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked her cousin. I like the cousin. I wasn't paying any attention to, you know, Chris
Yeah.
as I knew him. And I hope I'm not going to be offensive to anyone, by my use of pronouns or the dead name,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and but it kind of like there's a bit of a, it feels like there's kind of a delineation of when they were Chris, when they were Elle. And so anyway, I
Yeah.
hope I don't
Mm-hmm.
want people to be hurt by that.
Okay.
But so I guess my point is that I have known Elle for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and at one point when we were seniors in high school, I told her I would never want to marry a pastor. And at
Yeah.
that point, she knew she wanted to become a pastor.
Yeah.
And, I just didn't have her on my radar at all. And I was determined to go away to college. And so, anyway, when I convinced her to date me after college, because she still remembered that I said that, and she was
Ah.
in school to become a pastor. So, I mean, I knew immediately that I was supposed to marry her,
Wow.
a him at that time.
Yeah.
I just knew that this was my person, and this was the right thing, and this is what I had been waiting for. And Like the first time she called me, I was in the basement with my mom and I couldn't find my phone. I had a bunch of stuff on the floor and the phone was ringing, ringing. And I was like, this is Chris calling.
Mm-hmm.
This is Chris. This means we're going to get married.
Wow.
Chris is calling me. This is it. This is my person. And so,
Wow.
anyway, so we've gone through all these experiences together, all this time together. We've moved
Mm-hmm.
around. She was the pastor at multiple churches, in this kind of fundamental Adventist religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just have all this history. I never suspected anything, not for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
that about her being transgender.
Mm-hmm.
But I did know that I was married to a really almost like a troubled person.
Right.
Chris used to be very morose, very, you know, depressed most of the time, I would say. There wasn't a whole lot that ever brought Chris a lot of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I saw tears in our marriage maybe less than 5 times leading
Mm.
up to this last October when she came out to me. And so the particular weekend that I found out about it was leading up to National Coming Out Day,
Mm-hmm.
October 10, I believe, in 2021 or no, 2020. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
2020. Uh,
I
and
know. Time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I did not know that it was National Coming Out Day coming up. I had no idea. And so
Mm-hmm.
she obviously knew and was feeling trapped in her career, in her role as, a man, as
Mm.
Chris, and just feeling, I think tortured is a really good word to describe how Chris used to be,
Mm.
and very tortured. And I just thought, she had a really traumatic childhood at many different points for various reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and I just always thought that that is why my spouse is so tortured. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a quite tumultuous childhood also, and so we always bonded over that. And so that October 10 weekend, she was just like beside herself. Her mom and her grandmother were visiting at the time, and they knew nothing of the sort, of course. And so Elle was just like red in the face, anxious, snappy. She was on her phone all weekend.
Mm.
And she was being a bit secretive about it. And I like, if I would come by, she would quickly put her phone down, kind of hide it. And it's like, she's never done that before, ever. We
Mm.
don't function that way. And so I finally was just getting pissed by this moodiness and that behavior. And I was like, please come up to our room. And I pretty much dragged it out of her.
Mm.
Like, what is happening? What is the problem here? And she, was like, "Ugh, I can't tell you. My psychiatrist is advising me not to tell you yet." And
Mm.
I'm just like, oh, God, what in the
Wow.
world?
Mm.
Scared. Like, what could this be? What? Why do you have a secret from me that
Mm.
your therapist is telling you not to share? So I just like insisted she tell me.
Mm.
And so she did. And she said, I think her words were, I am afraid that I am transgender,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. And I was like, the first thing that came to my mind was, and to my ignorant mind about this topic was, like, you want to dress like a woman, like
Mm.
RuPaul, and you want to, that's all I knew of it,
Mm,
and
yeah.
just super ignorant, you know, embarrassingly so now.
Mm,
And so that led to this hours long conversation where we were holed up in our room, both crying, and our kids were downstairs with the grandmas who were, I'm sure, judging us for why we were being so neglectful of our children
wow.
and how rude that they're visiting. And we did find out later that they were pissed that we were being so rude and we're having this like major crisis
Yeah.
and trying to just pretend like everything was okay still. And so, I mean, it was just unbelievable. I just didn't know what it was. But, and this is the hard part for Elle to believe, that the thought never entered my mind that I'm going to leave. It
Mm,
never crossed my mind. I almost felt a sense of relief when I found out because I thought maybe she was having an affair.
mm,
That was the only thing that came to mind why she would be behaving like that, secretive
mm,
with her phone. I've never seen that.
mhm,
We've always been able to just like pick up each other's phones with no hesitation and look at them. And so,
mhm.
in a lot of ways, I was relieved that it was not an affair,
Yeah.
And during that hours long conversation, she proceeded to tell me that how suicidal she'd been at multiple points
Mm,
over the course of our marriage, and specifically like in the most recent summer prior to her telling me.
mm,
And, I had no idea at that time
mhm,
that she was contemplating that. So I was just, there was some relief that, this person is still alive. They're my person and they still love me and no one else. And, we got to figure this out,
mm.
you know? So that's
Yeah.
kind of how that went. Yeah. As time went on, it, it did become somewhat isolating because it had to be a secret because she was still working as a pastor at a church that's not at all welcoming of anyone in the LGBTQ
Mhm.
family.
Yeah.
And so it was a big secret. And so that was really hard.
Mm,
That definitely became dark at different points. And I just like trudged on. And
mm.
yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you have support, then it can, make things easier. And although you could
yeah,
in a way support each other, there was also, I assume,
yeah,
there were difficulties in that you're like that you
yeah,
need to get external support with because there is also
yeah,
maybe not a mismatch, I suppose, but there are things that maybe you do not you're going through this journey together, but you're in slightly
yeah,
different shoes and different
yeah,
in different spaces and places.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, really confusing. And she was becoming much more excited about it much quicker than I was. And,
Mm,
and she initially told me she was, she basically said, I feel like I need to explore this and I don't know where it will lead. And I do remember at certain points feeling like this is going much faster than I thought it was, when you
mm,
first told me. And,
mm,
and so we just had to, if I was upset about something, we would just make a date and go sit in the hot tub and hash it out,
mhm,
and and I remember one time we were sitting in the hot tub and she told me that she made an appointment with an endocrinologist. And I was really upset about that at that time because it was like, we didn't talk about this before. You're
mhm,
just telling me this? What else are you going to just tell me what other decisions are you gonna, and so it was really important for her to talk about things with me prior to doing them. And it was funny
Mm-hmm.
because when her psychiatrist found out that she had done that, she kind of scolded her and was like, "Yeah, that's not a good technique. Don't do that.
Mm.
Don't just announce that you're gonna, you know, these major steps that you're going through with your partner, you need to talk about them ahead."
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of, slowed that down. But all through this process, I started talking with a therapist who Elle actually found there's a close by. It's called the Center of Palm Springs, which is only an hour from us. And that was like, that's been just godsend,
Mm.
lifeline for me. I found
Mm.
a therapist there who, I was talking to weekly at times. And I had to learn a lot of how to speak up for myself. I had, I think, so being all these years being married to Chris, there was this ongoing, like, incredible temper and kind of easy feelings were being hurt easily, and this a temper. And so I think that I definitely kind of had the practice of not always saying really what I felt all the time, really what I
Mm.
needed all the times. There were a lot of things in our life that I just had to go along with, like being a pastor's wife for 16 years and in this church that was not kind, not friendly, not inclusive
Mm.
in my eyes the majority of the time. And I like, oh gosh, when are you going to get a different career? I'm so tired of this, and
Mm.
I just couldn't hurry her along in that.
Mm.
And so the therapist really, one of the things he just helped me focus on self care, focus on saying what I need, what
Mm.
am I worried about, and really helped give me tools just that really helped us a lot to just negotiate and talk and
Mm.
how to say things, when to say things. So that was incredibly helpful. And I
Mhm.
still talk with him. And then the group that I started going to through the center is called Trans Tuesdays. And I have met, when I first started there, a couple of different married couples in that group that have been married for like 25 and 30 years,
Mhm.
where one of the spouse, one couple, they started out as a lesbian couple, and then the
Mm.
spouse came out as a transgender male, and then another
Mhm.
couple that we've become good friends with, they thought a heterosexual couple, and then the one spouse became, she came out as well as a female. And that has just like opened my mind, kind of like normalizing it. I've been so in this bubble of this sheltered religious community that I, didn't really have a choice whether I wanted to be a part of it or not. I was choosing to be a supportive spouse,
Mhm.
and so that meant we had to send our kids to the schools. We had to go to church every Saturday. We Sabbath school it's like you lose half your weekend, and every single week, and I
Mm.
didn't have a choice about that. And
Mm.
so I feel quite emboldened in a lot of ways through this, because it's like, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be a part of that church. I don't want to go to church. I'm not sure when I will want to, or if,
Mhm.
or where I would want to go, but I
Mm.
get to decide. And that's
Yeah.
been like incredibly freeing for me.
Mm.
you know? And
Yeah.
I think that's translating into different areas of my life too, that no, I actually do get to decide and say what I would want to do.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of it's been quite a journey. Um,
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, it sounds like it's empowered you to, yeah, speak your own truth more as well, and stand up for your own needs. And because I
right.
think I think we all get conditioned in a particular way. Like you said, you were trying to be a supportive spouse, and then
Yeah.
I guess with that can come like ignoring your own needs, I suppose.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. And I am also a nurse. I'm a director of nursing at a home health company. And so
Hmm.
I'm in this leadership role at this company. And it's been interesting because as I've become more bold at home, speaking my truth,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
have become more bold at work. I'm seeing a bit of a parallel. Like,
Interesting.
no, it's not okay for you to not go out and get the booster if you want to work here. If or if you like, that's just kind of an example. Like, no, it's not okay for you to say you've done something and you haven't done it, and I find out about
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
And so I used to care a lot what people would think, if they would be mad at me, and I've
Hmm.
kind of like grown into my skin, like, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and I don't care if you're mad at me.
Mm.
You know, if you want to
Yeah.
work here, you need to work hard and you need to do your best and
Mm.
be honest. And
Mm.
so I think it's helped me grow in
Mm.
many, many ways, all of this.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So, how has it affected your relationship? How has it changed your relationship?
As I would say that there's more drama because, she started taking hormones maybe like, not sure, maybe 9 months or so ago.
Uh-huh.
And in the beginning, it was kind of like a bit of a teenager. I've heard people
Wow.
say, like, this teenager's going through puberty, and there's a
Mm.
lot of tears, and it's just a whole shift.
Mm.
But through that, there's been, I feel like I see who this person is that I'm married to.
Mm.
This is like a happy version of my spouse,
Mm.
that I didn't really, I hope that existed, but I hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
And so that's been pretty amazing to be married to, a happy person,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I do think that there is drama, like she's like,
Ah.
oh my God, how does my hair look? And it's like, I just really don't care how your hair looks. I've never really cared how your hair looked, and I still don't care how your hair looks. And,
Ah, that's so funny.
so it's,
Yeah.
and like thinking back, she used to stand in the mirror in the bathroom next to me and would drive me crazy because she'd be like, "Oh, which shirt should I wear? Which tie should I wear?
Mm-hmm.
how should I do my hair?" And it's like, get out of here. I don't care. Just and so that has gone to a whole new level. It's like, and now I understand that
Ah.
that's, dysphoria,
Mm.
but it still can be a bit obnoxious to be around. And
Interesting.
my
Yeah.
therapist has said that, it's okay to be annoyed by that if it's
Mm-hmm.
becoming too much. Like, if I, like, please don't shove me out of the way of my mirror while I'm trying to get ready to be on time to work so that you can
Oh,
ask how your, how's your makeup or, and it's like, oh no, you gotta stop that. And so there are some times where I'll like jokingly push her out of the bathroom while I'm trying to get ready.
yeah.
And, like, and
Ah,
that's okay. And it's kind of like, but it's kind of like this ongoing, we're growing. And
mm,
all through our marriage, we've been growing. And I think that this is probably the most we've needed to or have grown, but we're just
mm,
determined to do that.
mm,
So it's hard to explain, but I mean, I think we're stronger than we've ever been,
mm.
you know?
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it's yeah, it's and people don't understand that, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Sort of. I read in your post about it that you had a lot of
Yeah.
well, you had a lot of questions, I guess, and also maybe people saying, "How can you stay with your spouse after all
Yeah.
this?" You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that part has been so hard, the hearing other people's opinions, and especially some close family who have been slow to come around
Mm,
or slow to be accepting. That has been, I think, the hardest part maybe about this. And a few of my close friends, family members have said to me, "Why are you not just so angry? You've been lied to all this time.
wow.
How are
Mm,
you okay with this? How are you okay with your spouse being selfish like this
mm-hmm,
and, quitting their job and, putting your family in financial hardship?" I've heard some people say. And
mm, mm-hmm,
how are you okay with this? How is this going to be sustainable for you, this lifestyle? And
mm,
it's like, if you knew me, if you really knew me at all, you would know that I love this person unconditionally. And just because they want to wear a dress, you know, this is still the same person. It's
mm-hmm,
like different, it's like a better version of the person that I married, And so,
mm,
there are definitely family members that don't trust that maybe there aren't more secrets.
mm,
They're really mad at Elle on my behalf,
mm,
um, because they feel like I have been betrayed, I have been misled, I have been lied to,
mm-hmm.
and they're mad for me. And it's like,
Wow. Yeah.
and I guess I can respect that reaction, or I can respect the response somewhat because
Mm-hmm,
they're concerned for me and they want to make sure I'm okay and I have a choice in this. But it's like,
mm-hmm,
I've even had some people say, like, I am being held against my will.
mm,
And uh, if again, if you knew me, you would know that I don't, especially over the last year, like, if I don't want to do something, I'm probably going to let you know about it.
mm-hmm,
And I'm not going to just, I mean, that's ludicrous to say that I'm being held against my will and like I don't have an option. And
mm,
of course, I have
mm,
options, but I don't want any of those options.
mm,
I want this.
mm-hmm,
And regardless of whether you think it's okay or you could handle something like this, you don't have to. This isn't your spouse. This is my spouse. And
mm-hmm.
so back off. and
Yeah.
unless you have something positive to say, don't come to me with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm still dealing with some of that, and
Mm.
that's tricky, and it's especially tricky, when it's a family member. And
Yeah.
I think that in some of those cases it's not going to only time will help with that.
Yeah.
But I guess overall, I think it's changed our relationship for the better,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Yeah.
And
That's
we're
really
just
lovely.
committed to just keep going and trying and what's working and not working and
Mm.
talking, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like you communicate on a deeper level, and things are now
Yeah,
being said. I guess there were things unsaid with Elle, and also
yeah,
with yourself, that are now out in the
yeah,
open. Yeah,
yeah.
very different things, but still.
It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been, we've always been good communicators. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why back in high school, even in grade school, we would go on school trips, orchestra trips, or, this one physical geology class, we went on a trip. And we would sit in the back of the bus and just talk and talk and talk for hours.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's always been a strength of ours,
Mm.
fortunately. And I think
Brilliant.
that's why marriage is hard, no matter who it is or who you're married to, or,
Mm.
it is
Mm.
hard. And so we've both come from multiple divorces on each side of our families, and we both,
Mm.
committed to not having that be our reality no matter what. And so,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I've also felt like, well, if, like I said before, I've been kind of begging, hoping that Elle would not be a pastor years ago.
Mm.
I've been tired of it for a really long time.
Mm.
Um, and I've jokingly said, well, if this is the way that I got her into the career that I know she will be amazing at and find fulfillment in, then I guess I'll take it. That's
Yeah.
fine. It's worth it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think this next chapter is going to be so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for people who haven't listened to Elle's episode yet, so obviously Elle lost her job
Uh-huh.
because of coming out, right?
Yeah, she was. And she knew that that was going to happen,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because it's just not accepted in Adventism. And so
Mm-hmm.
she knew she would have to resign. She
Mm-hmm.
went to the conference president and, came out, and it was very clear right away that she was going to have to resign.
Mm-hmm.
But it was worth it, you know.
Yeah.
And they were gracious to us, and I don't want people to hear that all Adventists are terrible and awful. And of course, I don't think that. And we've met
Mm.
some amazing people all along the road at
Mm.
all these different churches we've been at. And there's some wonderful, amazing people. And,
Mm.
they've helped to shape who we are.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't want anything to do with the denomination at all.
Mm.
And so it's kind of felt a bit like I've gotten out of jail,
Wow. Yeah.
which is
Mm.
it's really amazing. So yeah, she's going back to school to become a marriage and family therapist, and I've
Mm.
thought that that would be an incredible job for her for years,
Mm.
and so I'm really excited about it. I think she's going to be able to help so many people, and
Mm.
she's incredibly smart. This will be her second master's degree. You know, she's just, and just the experience of like being a former pastor who's now, transgender female and but still married to, the grade school sweetheart. And it's a very unique story,
Mm.
who's
Mhm.
been suicidal, and she has so much to give. And I think this next chapter is going to be just incredible for
Mm.
who she's going to be able to help. And it's just amazing that both of us are kind of able to be out of the closet now. I feel like
Yeah.
I've kind of been in the closet for a long time in terms of um, condoning the denomination and what, like, the ridiculous things that it encourages and supports, like not ordaining women,
Mm.
not wanting women to be in leadership roles. It's like, what in the actual hell are you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, and so I've had to be in the closet about, while I've been supportive to this spouse, having people think that I think all of this nonsense is okay. And to
Mm.
like yell at someone for wearing jewelry or getting a tattoo, like
Mm.
idiots. I mean, and I've had to bite my tongue all these years. And
Mm. Well,
having our
that,
kids
yeah.
go to this tiny little conservative Adventist school that's connected to the church, and like
Mm.
having our kids sent home with a like what did they do today that was naughty, and how like shaming and you
Mm.
know guilt inducing, this is a pastor's child, and for them to behave like this, feeling like it's a salvation issue. It's like people are idiots. I mean, and a lot, like, oh, so I'm just
Yeah.
astonished, and just like I couldn't run away from that fast enough
Mhm.
when this all came out. And so, like, I feel like now if I want to shout from the rooftops, you people are idiots, you can have it, just keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's really freeing,
Mm. Sounds very
you know?
liberating. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
oh,
Yeah.
so,
Mm. Yeah, so you mentioned a little bit about, did you mention that earlier? I can't quite remember. But you said in some of your notes, like your thoughts about your own gender are still the
yeah,
same. So I mean, do you
yeah.
feel like you've gone through maybe a period of questioning your, not yourself, but like maybe gender in general, and like what am I? Who am I? Throughout all this. How has that
Yeah,
been?
I think that I have questioned that. And, talking with my therapist, he has just been, and even in my Trans Tuesday support group, like, what is the point of feeling like you have to put a label on yourself or what you are? I think that it's maybe very important to some people, but
Mm.
it's also okay to not put a label on yourself.
Mm.
It's kind of just up to the person, and it's okay. Whatever you decide to do, it's okay. And
Mm.
so, you know, my one of my sons has said a couple of times, like, so if Mappa is a woman and you're a woman, does that mean you guys are queer? Or I think he said one time, does that make you a lesbian? And and
Yeah.
it's like, well, I guess technically it probably does,
Mm.
but oh well,
Yeah.
so I guess I just haven't felt the need to change that, like,
Mm.
and who knows? I'm kind of a baby in all this process,
Mm.
so I don't really know.
Mm. Yeah, that's fair
Um,
enough. I mean, it's
yeah,
a fairly recent thing, isn't it? Because obviously,
yeah,
with and processing everything and the changes happening, with Elle through her hormone
yeah,
treatment, and it's like just very much a
yeah.
process, isn't it?
It's a process, and this is my person,
Mm-hmm.
and so if that makes me this on paper, then well, I guess that's where we are now. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I've never done this before, so
yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't. Yeah,
Figuring it out as you go. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
totally.
totally.
Yeah. So, what is the loveliest question you've been asked, as opposed to some of the ones that have not been so nice?
Huh.
Or the loveliest comment you've had?
Hmm. You know, there's a friend of Elle's mom who I think is also, well, she's also in this fundamentalist religion. And she said to Elle's mom when she first found out that she was just so proud of me, so proud of us, and that the easy way out would be to just walk away and get a divorce and be mad and feel
Mm,
betrayed. Or, Paige is taking the hard road. She's making it work and she's just proud of me,
mm,
you know? And I think she said, how could it be, how could splitting up their family be something that God would want? How
mm,
could that be the right answer?
mm,
And so it is the hard road, I think. And I thought that was really beautiful.
mm. Yeah.
But it's been really funny because a lot of people have asked, like, how are you still going to have sex?
Mm,
And it's been so hilarious, talking with my therapist about that question.
mm-hmm.
Like, he just laughs and laughs, thinking, like, it is so funny how many people are so worried about your sex life in
Right?
this, like, conservative fundamentalist church. And they're all just worried about your sex life.
Right?
It's like the irony of that is just like,
Ah,
when's the last time I talked to you about my sex life? Is what I've said to some of those people. And they're
yeah.
like, well, never. And it's like, And that's how often I plan to talk to you about my sex life in the future.
Right?
When's the
Yeah.
last time I asked you how your sex life was, Mom? Oh, never? Yeah, right. And I plan to never ask you about that. And so don't ask me about that.
Yeah.
If I choose to talk with you about sex, then I guess you'll know.
Mm,
But, I can think of, like, on my one hand how many times I've ever brought up the topic, even with a close friend.
mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't talk about that with people.
Mm,
And
mm.
so quit worrying about my sex life. And like the people on this crazy conservative Adventist forum who have said just vile things about us and Elle and me also
Mm-hmm.
are also worried about my sex life.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
interesting that they weren't worried about it before. So, yeah. Or they didn't say so anyway. It's like, yeah, people are so obsessed with it, aren't they?
oh, they totally are. And it's
Yeah.
like, you guys need to figure out how to be kind to people and include them and
Mm,
not be worrying about my sex life.
mm-hmm. Totally. Well, hopefully they'll get there.
I doubt it. Not in
Yeah.
my lifetime.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, at least with the peripheral church people, I don't think that they'll get there in my lifetime. With my
Mm.
family, I think they will,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I think if enough people just open their eyes, I think it takes a certain amount of people to become more open to this kind of thing. And
Yeah,
then that can affect like bigger organizations and institutions. It
yeah,
takes a certain, maybe there's a saturation point or something. If enough people speak up about, look, this stuff is really outdated and you need to sort this out, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. It
You
takes all
know,
sorts though. Mm.
it does. And that was always our attitude, being staying in the denomination and trying
Mm.
to, we would joke about how Elle would stay in the church until they kicked her out,
Mm.
because we were going to try to bring change and bring
Mm.
open mindedness and just, and especially in this most recent church, it's just kind of like, I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Mm.
And
Mm.
we've given enough of ourselves, enough of our lives to try to make that happen. And you guys can just keep your religion.
Mm.
And we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, we used to kind of have the like attitude of, we're going to be the change, we're going to bring the change, we're going to help these people
Mm.
grow. And it's just like, oh, no, they don't want to.
Mm. Well, you may have planted a seed, who knows? But seeds take time to
Yeah,
grow, don't they? So,
they do.
yeah.
And hopefully something that we've done will bring about some change
Mm.
for the good. But I'm just not going to stick around to wait and hope. And,
Mm. Yeah,
I'm going to go
totally.
live this life and, keep meeting all these amazing people that we would never have met had this not all happened.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about yet? Or any maybe advice you want to leave people with who might be facing the same
Hmm.
challenges?
I think the very best thing is to get yourself into therapy.
Mm.
Find a therapist that you trust and that you can work through things with, and just take care of yourself
Mm.
through it all. Self care, and just take it slow, take it day by day, and
Mm.
just keep going. And it's gonna be okay. you
Yeah.
know don't
Mm.
know when it will feel okay. It might not be easy, but it's gonna be okay.
Mm.
And just get your cheerleaders around you and do your self-care, and just, you're gonna be okay. Yeah. And
Beautiful.
if there are people that want to reach out to me at some point, that's okay too. I'd be
Hmm.
happy to talk to, you know because there aren't a whole lot of people out there like us, like
Mm.
me.
Mm.
I think, because it's just easy to get a divorce and,
Mm.
start over. I don't know, but yeah, that was incredibly helpful when I was able to find some other people like me.
Hmm.
And so I'd be happy to try to be a resource to people too if they want to email me or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's cool. Yeah,
yeah,
lovely. Thank you so much for sharing with me, Paige.
yes, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on. And
Yay.
thanks for doing what you're doing, and, bringing awareness to all of these topics that you are. And that's pretty amazing.
Mm. Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's just one. Sometimes people might think it's like a drop in the ocean, but then what's the ocean made of?
yeah,
So it all helps,
it's
I
true.
think. Yeah.
I think so too. I think we have to have dialogues like this to help people learn and grow and change, and just like we just have to figure out how to love each other no matter who we are and what we are, and no matter
Mm-hmm.
what, we
Mm.
have to just love each other
Mm.
and understand, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Well, amen to that.
yeah.
Yay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Esther.
You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/page, which is PAIGE, where you can also read the transcript. If you'd like to get in touch with Paige, please let us know. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com, on social media, and on YouTube. Again, if you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender or buy us a coffee. Links are on the website. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded.